I don't know what's going on here. All right. So the month of May in our history, especially in this year 2022, is a month that we should reckon with. I told you that from the 6th of May, after the so called, well, not so called, but after the Workers' Day, 1st of May, Mr. Ahijo, at that time, being remote controlled by France as BIA is being done today, decided to take upon himself, after consultations and advice, to make sure that our identity is completely wiped out on the face of the earth. And not only that, that a people who had a right to self determination, according to the books of the United Nations Declaration of resolutions that might not quote them correctly here, but I know of Resolution 1608, paragraph 5, of what was to happen to us, and other resolutions that came towards our independence were ripped off by the cunning craftiness of France, leaving us in darkness. And because our godfather, called them godfather at that time, the colonial masters, which colonized us after the Germans, that is the British, with their selfish and crooked ways of doing things, they secretly had a deal with France, and made us to be second-class slaves to the proxy of France, which is the Republic du Cameroon. And over the years, our fathers have been fighting and fighting until today. We are still fighting. Now, the fight was going on underground, and because of the vantage position that they had as a government, so many of our parents were killed. And thank God that He had given us wisdom, given us a sense of morality. Some of our parents sent us out of the countries to go and study. And in the course of studying, many of us came up with this knowledge and with this idea of setting homeland free. But unfortunately, in our history, when we were captived or captivated, yeah, when we were in captivity, then La Republique made it in such a way that we actually went against the laws that God had put in place, if we are to say so. Many Amazonians went into unholy yokes, getting married to La Republique members, and that corrupted our seed to the point that today we see the corruption very, very high. Now, when I see what is presently going on in Amazonia, I just turn around and look at what God told the children of Israel in Egypt, that they should not have anything to do and make intermarriages with the Egyptians. And I was wondering, how can people be living in a country and will not have intermarriages with the people? Now I came to understand and to realize that his advice to the people of Israel was 100% correct. That is why we still have Israel alive today. That's why we still have people who call themselves Israelites. Because right there in Egypt, they made sure that they adhere to the counsel of God, not to intermarry with the Egyptians because of corruption. And after 430 years, they came out free from Egypt and still established their land. Could it not have been the same wonderful thing if Amazonians had intermarried only with Amazonians? Now, the much corruption that we have today is because of these damn marriages that some Amazonians went and corrupted themselves with prostitutes and highway criminals of La Republique du Cameroon. Their women are all spies and their men are all terrible against Amazonia. They don't want Amazonia to live. But then we will not do the way it was done in the days of Nehemiah, when God actually came and told Nehemiah that any woman or any man of the tribe of Israel that has gotten married to a strange woman, that man should put away the wife and the children. And they did. And that's why Israel is saying today, hey, historian, are you saying we should do the same thing? Oh, no. We have not gotten a divine mandate from God to that extent. We have just been grafted in to the tree of God's people. And because of that, we have some exceptions. So, what I'm going to tell you, or what I'm telling you, is that those of you who have married strange women and have married strange men in La République du Cameroon, you have the advantage in that history is unfolding in your days, and you can take a decision to stand for your people. Unfortunately, many of them have been intoxicated, not only intoxicated, but many of them have been initiated into the demons of La Republic that hold people captive. And that is why we are where we are today. Let me not forget, today is the 11th. Now, in exactly 8 days, on the 19th of May, there is going to be a complete shutdown of the federal territory of Ambazonia, as announced by the interim government. Now, the lockdown is going to be 19th and 20th only. Any other punishment that some La Republicans who pretend to be Ambazonians have taken of the fruit, the forbidden fruit, that when you eat that fruit, your head is turned. What we were talking yesterday for the good of Ambazonia, you turn around today and you're punishing Ambazonia. That fruit has entered into the heart of so many people, and only Jesus can deliver them, but they don't want to accept the deliverance of Jesus. And that's why they are wallowing in their grip and trying everything possible to make sure that they measure up, but it's not working. That's why I find many of the groups, some of them that because of disgruntledness, because of the way the interim government has locked the holes which they were using to siphon our resources, to steal money, that hard-earned money that a few people in the diaspora were contributing to safeguard and drive the frogs out of our land. They stole the money, and the interim government was firm about it. They decided to go out and form cliques that are now pretending to be in the house and making loud noises but working for La Republique. So I am saying that the interim government's stance is that our people have gone through tough times and they should not no more. So they locked down for to stop La Republique from celebrating the 20th, what they call 20th May, which I call the month or the day of enslavement of the people of Amazonia in our country should not be obeyed. And so 19th and 20th is the lockdown day. Yes, this is the day that it's locked down. And because of that, we are advising and telling all Amazonians to make sure that you don't go into slavery from any other person that has decided to add burden and bondage upon you, bondage that you are not supposed to be in. Yes, you are not supposed to be in that bondage. So 19th and 20th is the month, are the days that you in Ambazonia will have to stay back at home. Anything more than that, anything outside of that is not your portion. So hear it from ABC, and remember that most of the medias that you listen to or that you belong to, they are propagandists and they can make their propaganda. But when you hear the propaganda from outside there, don't forget you have one official home page. That is the government's TV station. That's the ABC. Come into the government's TV and find out what is the government's take on whatever you hear on social media. I hope you get me, and I'm sure you get me very, very clear. Good. Now, Coming back to our history, as I have been telling you, and I'm telling you that, I like the old book. People call it the old good book, because when it says something, it says it very well, extremely well. Now, the beginning of a matter is important, but much more so, the ending of that particular matter is much more better. In fact, it's the best when the way it ends is the best. Over the weeks, I've been telling you about people who failed, like Abraham Lincoln, who failed woefully, and it is in record that he failed 99 times, as I've been saying it. And then we have, around the globe, a number of people have failed and they have given up. I know of Charles Carlson, who, when he was locked up in prison. I don't know whether it was for real or for something false. And when he came out, because of his experience in the prison, he was promoted and he got a job because of that experience. So there is nothing and nowhere anybody should regret in this life if you go through anything that you can concretely and expressly say that you did it from the depth of your heart. When you do it from the depth of your heart and to the best of your knowledge, and it is true, because we are living in a world of falsehood. There is a lot of falsehood today in the society, and many people who are living under this falsehood, they want to bring every other person under the falsehood, which is not possible. And of course, we know that it is a bit difficult, though not impossible, for people to live up to the standard of their own laws. Can you imagine people who make laws and they are unable to obey the laws that they themselves they make? Can you imagine that? Now you begin to wonder which kind of people are these? Now it is as a result of the mentality that so many of them carry. So many people carry some kind of weird mentalities. You can imagine a human being saying that he is a higher animal. He came from an ape. And he believes it. And that's why you find an ape, or you give an ape a banana, you see the way he grabs the banana and it's the way it peels it. And when people study that species, they conclude that they are like them, like the animals, like the ape. But unfortunately, I am not. I grew up to discover that I was created in the image of God. And that is why, after surrendering my life to the Lord Jesus Christ, I go the way of Jesus. He lived here on earth. People call him a great man. Others call him other kinds of names. But what I know is that he is God and he came here to show us an example that we can live for God while in this present world. And he demonstrated that. And every one of us who is here listening to me, you can demonstrate that. But there are people who have absolutely and actually uh, decided, I don't know whether it is their actual will that they have decided like that, but there are people who find it difficult to live up to the moral standard that is required from every human being. Now, the saying is that you do to others as you would expect them to do to you. And then I hear some people who say they are Christians, and sometimes when I hear a number of people criticizing the way some people who say they are Christians think, I think to agree with them. Why? Because being a Christian does not mean that you should push aside your God instincts. God has put in every one of us an instinct, an insinuation that if you fail to go by that according to the scriptures, above all, most of the instincts and the insinuations that we can talk about of ourselves are written in a book so that we should no longer be in darkness. And but people still want to remain in that darkness, and that is what actually surprises me. I mean, surprises me in the sense that people who are supposed to be the custodians of what God actually created and put them in this life to do, They are wallowing and waxing in a terrible mire that when you ask them, they are confused. But my dear friend, I want to let you know that our God, who is the God of Amazonia, has preserved this history for us to learn the history, not only learn the history, but also from the history, make a way out for ourselves and then live up to his expectation. But how many people, Amazonians, how many people are living up to God's expectation according to history? Now, I told you that our history will not be the 1960s, the 70s, the 80s history. I will do everything possible to bring you back to where we are. I listened to one of our brothers, an Amazonian, who is very articulate and does what we call investigative journalism. I overheard him saying that he's going to publish a few things that are happening as current events and bring out the real results. And he took up a particular young man whom Ambazonians had known in the early 2017, 18, 19, and 20, that he was very, very violent and was ready to send out all the all the frogs in Amberland, beginning from his village. But guess what? As the years went by, you know, some individuals, I'm not saying you should not value your family. No. Jesus came and died for everybody, of which he would have valued himself. But there are people who value their tribe, value their immediate brother and sister to 8 million Ambazonians. He can say, okay, kill all the 8 million Ambazonians and leave me and my family. That individual, that is selfishness of the highest order. And that is what has transpired as La Republic has been trying their games over and over. There are some very big things that they try to do, and there are very small things that will look them to be minute, but they do it and they try to do it successfully. But because this is a God ordained struggle, our history is getting into a very proper, straightforward stage in that all of them do, whether for family reasons, personal reasons, tribal reasons, financial reasons, spiritual darkness reasons, or whatever, it is working out for the good of the people of Amazonia. Listen to me and listen to me very well. Now, this brother, this servant of Amazonia, went into investigation. He has said it before, and I want to commend one of the tough Amazonians who has made his face like a flint. He fears nobody. He has been predicting things, and when he says it, almost 90% of Amazonians will charge at him and insult him, but after some time, it will come to pass. Now, I told you in our history, we'll be bringing current events that have turned into history. Before I say what I want to say right now, may I remind you, Ambazonians, that God is not depending on an individual to set Ambazonia free. God is depending on those who are willing and are ready. And if you come in, like many have come in, zealous, and after 1, 2, 3 years, you think that you are done, or you think to spit on God's face because the deliverance that you expected has not come, you are making a big mistake. Now, I heard this analyst talking so much about Oliver Leke, whom I want to also comment here very seriously in the making of our history. Don't say I'm criticizing. Yes, criticism is part of the business. Now, when you say you are fighting to deliver a land, do you pause somewhere and sometimes and then, take up another journey? No, you have to go until the end. That is why I say that beginnings are good, but the endings matter. Where is this young man today that shook La République du Cameroon in all manners of ways? Now, the investigator actually told me, mentioned my name in one of his audios, how that he is still investigating, and he had said it a long time ago that Oliver Lequet, whom they used to call Field Marshal, of course, he's still field marshal in the shadow, because once a field marshal, you remain a field marshal. The ex-field marshal of Lebialem, not for Ambazonia, he has no control over Ambazonia. He has control over his territory, which is Lebialem. The ex-field marshal is now at large, and being at large, after stopping fighting for more than a year, for him to sit down quiet and watch what is going on, he decided to join his wicked and enable brother to cause Ambazonians to go back into the wilderness and spend some more time in the wilderness. Well, I want to let you know, Mr. Oliver, that it is just a delay. You can never stop our move. You can just delay for a while, and God understands why the delay. Now, this analyst reported that what he read on Monday was purportedly forced and written to him. And then I begin to wonder, a man of that caliber to be put words into his mouth to go and read, to impress who? We are not depending on you to get Ambazonian free. No, we're not depending on any of the field marshals back at home. Neither are we be depending on any of the soldiers. But then we depend on you. What I'm saying is that we depend first of all on God, who is the author and who is leading us, and then we depend on you, who have answered God's call to go in for the fight. And if you stop tomorrow, sincerely speaking, God will not stop, because God has other people. Do you remember that God replaced Saul? Oh yes, God replaced Saul. And Saul was the first king of Israel, actually called by God. Oh yes, do you know that Samson, whose birth was predicted by an angel, and instructions were given to the parents how to bring him up, at the end of the day, he did not deliver the Israelites from the hands of the Philistines? Oh yes, that you have been called by God and given a mandate by God, you have to follow that mandate to the end. If you don't follow it to the end, you will end up like most of the people who heard from God and went so far and did not do it to the end, and they all crumbled. Their names went down into the history negatively. So if former Field Marshal has decided to put his name in the book to go down negatively, that's good for him. But I'm here as a historian to let you know that history is God's dictates, it's part of God. God will not hide anything, whether good or bad, concerning the people that he led. You remember David? I will always remind you, a man after God's heart. God would have hidden his adulterous life, but God did not. God would have hidden his murderous life, but God did not. Now, it is out there and everybody has read it. It is in the public. My dear friends, our history cannot be hidden because we want to please a few people. Now, a few weeks ago, if not a month, Oliver received money from the president. And a few months ago, Oliver made an audio saying that Dr. Sako is our president until we reach Boya. He made an audio saying that, well, we don't change presidents during war. He made an audio saying that he cannot become a president on home front because he is a soldier. How come that a few days ago, this inconsistent young man went on the air to disgrace not only himself, disgrace, of course, some of these people who have signed contract with the devil don't know disgrace. I've said it always. They don't know what is disgrace and they don't know what is shame. Now, Mr. Historian, why are you bringing this here? I'm bringing this here to make Ambazonians to know that nobody is indispensable and nobody can be trusted to the fullest until you reach the land. Again, I bring this here to make Ambazonians to sit up, that if you are depending on an individual or individuals to take us to Boya, then you have made a big mistake. We are depending on God. Some of these people that do not actually have accepted to move the way God wants them to move, they are vulnerable to other secret societies that the Republic is making enchantments against them every day. Why they cannot pull down the interim government, and some people who call themselves Ambazonians and who fought for us to go to Boya, and when they discovered that their selfish aims could not be fulfilled, they jump out of the fence, trying to form a confederation to fight against the interim government. And they have formed a lot of groups like that. I hear a few days ago, Dr. Anyangwe came out and said that they should dissolve the interim government and form whatever thing he was saying that they should form. Guess what? He's not the first. And unfortunately, he may not be the last. But the interim government is still standing. I have told you that most of the people that jumped out from this fight is because they are members of secret society and they pay allegiance to the devil. And the allegiance they pay is that when somebody, even though in another camp, even though you are enemy and he's your superior, when you meet in that place, you need to make concessions. And the junior can never be a superior to the superior in that cult, in that secret society. We may not know that, but that is what is going on. Why did Frundi suddenly back down? Because of the secret societies that he belonged to. A few years ago, a number of people told Dr. Sako, oh, you are not belonging, you are not belonging, you are not belonging. Once they started singing belongingness to you, know that they are calling you to join hands with the devil. And guess what? 2018, from a sincere heart, the president, Dr. Samuel Sako Ekome, declared to the Ambazonian people that he has no power of his own. He has handed over the land to the Almighty God. If the Almighty God is existing, let him take over the land. But for him to go to join hands with people of the secret cults, either a singer, either Nyamkwe, or Manaluba, okay, whatever cults that they are involved in, Rosicrucians, Freemasons, of which France is the master, and of course, Bia is a Freemason, Frundi, is a Rosicrucian, and all those fraternal societies. Of course, most of them hide in the church. Is Paul Bia did he not take communion from the hands of the Pope? Devil doesn't fear a religious setting. No, devil does not fear any religious setting. Guess what the devil fears? He fears where God is actually standing. And that's why when our president declared that he has handed over to God Almighty, not to the gods, not to deities, not to divinities, but to God, a number of Ambazonians who are well-to-do and who know what to do and how to do it, they jumped out because we said, we are not going to hand over Ambazonia to a serpent, to a snake, to a devil to control us again. We have a lot of resources. We can live better than most European countries. But why are we living beggarly and in this type of demise? It is as a result of the demons that we have employed. Just as he told Jesus, jump down from the pinnacle of the church and God will give his angels to take charge of you. He did all the temptations like he's doing today to us. The temptations are similar, but in diverse departments. Very subtle, that you may not even think of attributing the same temptations that came to Jesus that are coming to you. So our history is built on the honesty and the sincerity of the forefathers of Ambazonia who grew up to respect and believe in God whom they did not see. And to prove that God was existing, what did they do? They all became very honest to one another. I have told you in our history, which by the grace of God will be coming up at 9 o'clock Amber time, if that is permitted. Now, our history has been such that Amazonians who grew up in those days of little darkness, I'm talking about the 60s, saw that there was really God guiding and helping. The truth is that the knowledge we have today was not very much applicable, and the boldness we have today was not very much applicable because an average Amazonian thought that a human being was as honest as he himself was honest. But they suddenly discovered that human beings are terrible, especially those that are following after the devil. You saw the spirit of Satan being inculcated into the legion commanders of La République du Cameroon's army. Did you see that? Yes, I'm sure you saw that. That is a clear indication that, hey, what these historians and church and politics and other men and servants of God have been saying, you have been hearing it as if it is in the darkness and you were partially not believing. But today, let us tell you that what they are saying is true. So they came in the open to make you to see and to know that what we are saying is true. So they came out to say, hey, Amazonians, if you are believing in that your God, especially the God of Dr. Samuel Sako, who has handed over this land to God, believe in him strongly because you cannot pretend with us. And so the Amazonians who are pretenders, some of them who have the names of pastors and apostles and reverends, who are all pretending, they have joined the queue of the new religious order of La République du Cameroon, and they are persecuting the Amazonian people. Now, I was saying that a number of people who started this journey, very sincere, at the long run, at the middle of the road, instead of being caught up by Jesus Christ from where they started, they have handed over to the devil. And of course, many of them are gone. Many, not a few. Many of them are gone. And because they are gone, we do not want to let you, Amazonians, stay in that gross ignorance. I'm saying this to those who are alive. Yes, I'm talking to those who are alive. Because if I start to name how they have been going one by one, beginning from Akuma in Nigeria in the early days of 2017, these are all advocates of freedom, talking about Ivo and other people, the massacre in Guzan. These are all historical points that we can never forget while our history is in the making. Now, you all know that anyone who has jumped out of God's train to form a kind of a cartel to fight against the interim government, that group has a few years to live. We have heard of some criminals that have lived before. They started shouting how we can go to Boya. But at the end of the day, they turned around and they faced their bullets to the interim government. Yes, they fired the interim government, dismissed Dr. Sako several times, replaced him several times, and it's still going on. It's still going on till today. Now, I am saying that this is history in the making. It's called current events, but I'm recounting to you that which has passed. Some of the things are still coming up. We will hear more in the near future as we continue. But let me tell you, the battle is won. That is why a few weeks ago, when the interim government declared a lockdown, Anu went on his La République ABS and announced contrary. But at the end of the day, what the interim government told the people was obeyed to the letter. Was he ashamed? Was he brushed? Was he sad about the whole thing? No, he has continued. And today, again, he has come up with the Njangi House president. And I've told you that there are so many presidents in the world, right? So when you hear of a president, it doesn't mean a president of a country. No. There are some Njangi houses. You know what I mean, Njangi houses. They have presidents too, or chairman or chairlady or whatever. So there are Njangi House presidents who has copied all the institutions and still goes by the appellation of the institutions of the federal government of Ambazonia, came out to make an announcement which will disgrace them very seriously in the days ahead. Will they be ashamed? I already know the answer. They will not. They will continue to try to fight against the interim government instead of fighting La République du Cameroon. So just hold on. The days are drawing closer. You see and you will hear what is going to happen. And I will not forget, I will send you pictures of what will happen on the 17th and 18th, because they have declared whatever date they have declared. But we will go out and do our normal business. But be very careful, because these Jange House presidents are very wicked and they are very vicious to make sure that they put you again on your knees. You have been sitting on your buttocks. They now want to raise you up and put you on your knees on broken bottles and on pebbles, just to prove a point, just to punish you. La République plans to celebrate 20th May only on the 20th. Why do you punish people and tell them to go right back to how many days? That's wickedness. You want to prove a point on people that you're not even supporting them in any way? We want to see how much you are supporting the suffering masses in La République and those in prison and those refugees. We want to see. Now, La République is giving you money and you are doing what you are doing. That is the speculation I'm hearing, because I may call it speculation because I've not had any concrete, current events that have been proven. But then, if in ABC, my man was always, threatening to close it down because there was no money to pay this bill and pay this bill and pay this bill. Who is paying the bill that he is now running? When at that time, all the coup plotters that are with him and all the Ambazonian people that are moving to Boya were with him and they were paying in some money. Was it just that he was exaggerating and he's scamming people with this money to keep and then pay the proxy television of La République? No. If that is the case, hold on. There is nothing that has a beginning that has no end. The end will surely come. But if you are still in the goosey days, just know that the days are coming when you will hear and you will know. Now, our history is told such that Ambazonian people should be able to reason, because the book says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of what is happening, knowledge of what has happened, and knowledge of what is going to happen. So I want to let you know that the audios that you heard from Oliver on Monday are pressed down on his neck. And of course, he's an adult. He's answerable to his utterances, even if he was pressurized to do that. Well, he says God understands. Yeah, God understands that you have been pressurized to do the wrong thing. You should not do the wrong thing and disgrace God, whom you say called you. No, you should not do the wrong thing. Now, I can imagine when a man will get up in the house and call the wife and children with some visitors in the house. I said, now listen, wife, children, listen. I am the man of this house. I am the house, that is, I'm the head of this house. When you hear a man saying that, go and find out. There is something wrong somewhere. He's trying to make relevance where he is not. Because there are some men who are actually women in trousers. Yes. And there are some men, some women who are men in skirts. And that's exactly what is happening. So when you hear somebody in Ambazonia coming up to say, this is this, this is that, how many times has Dr. Sako sent people to advertise, he's the president and so on? But you have heard so many coups that have taken. The APNC in Philadelphia, the NDA, is it NDA in Canada, and the five that jumped out in the early days to form a group to fight against the ADF, to fight against the interim government. At the end of the day, every one of them has met with a rock and they are so surprised why the history is going on positively as far as the interim government is concerned. The interim government is not a group. No, it's not another group. The interim government is a government that we say was declared and restored in 2017, October 1st. This is the government that is still going on. You cannot restore a government and and squeeze it aside and then go now into groups and go into forming some other things that you think will take us to Ambazonia. No, our government was restored. If a government is restored, it's just but logical to move in that restored government. That is why you find some of the Njangi House governments who, when they fight the interim government, they still remain with the institutions, the former institutions of the interim government. They are still going on with the ideas that were formulated and brought about by the president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. They called it APP. They are still there. They call it local government by local government, though they are trying to change it now to house top by house top and so on. But it is still the same appellation that are trying to coin out some words in order that they can, be relevant. But I want to tell you, Ambazonians, that our history remains and will remain continuously. Yes, anybody who wants to go with this history, you are standing on the right path. And listen very well. I have told you that Ambazonians are not stupid. When you go to other social media forums or forums, what do they have? They have spectators. And a spectator is somebody who can just come and sit down there, watch and hear what you say and go away without uttering a word. But when you have followers, the followers make sure that they do what you want them to do. We have a lot of spectators back at home, in home front, who are viewing La Republique proxy, but you have a lot of followers of the interim government. Who is a follower? A follower is that individual when you make an announcement, they obey. You make a demand, they come for it, they support. Now, spectators of other forums and the coup plotters that wanted to steal our treasury, steal our ABC, and steal so many things. The console is still there with them. They are using it. Of course, they are going to pay for it. Now, everything that we bought with the sweat of the last man who supported by taking out the pennies that they sweat for and supported ABC, and this fellow carried away the console. He's going to pay for it. Don't worry. I hear people call something the law of karma. Oh, yes, it does exist. Yes, it does exist. And so now I want to let you know that this battle that God has allowed us to get into it is not fought with the majority. Go back to the old book. You will discover that the old book has a lot of practical examples for us to follow. And when you close your eyes and your ears from following what the book says, I'm talking about the Holy Bible. It is also a historical book. In fact, that is the book I'm using as a reference to what is going on in our society. Because that book has everything that has happened, has everything that is happening, and has everything that will happen. It is written in that book. Depending on your relationship with the author of the book, he will give you inspiration to be able to understand it. But if you have no inspiration, if you have no relationship with him, of course, you read it upside down. It will tell you everything negative, and you will go also very negative. But dear friends, Ambazonians, it is time for us to arise. Go back, pick up that book, read the Kings, read Samuel, read the Chronicles, read Nehemiah, read most of those Old Testament historical facts and compare them to what is going on today in Ambazonia. You will see that there is a lot of duplicate, and the mistakes that they made, because we don't know how to change them, and we have not read it before, we are making the same mistakes. Amazonians, I want to let you know, 19th and 20th of May, this month of May, I call it the Year of Jubilee, where God normally sets his people free. We have been set free. 20th May 1972 was the day that La République took us into enslavement, real slavery. And gradually they were brainwashing and brainwashing. They succeeded to brainwash those who had violated the rule, got entangled with their secret societies, got entangled with their women who were consecrated in the sea before bringing out, got entangled with so many things that their brains were taken off. Now they are killing even their own fathers and mothers, burning them in their houses. They are, conspicuously silent about the whole thing, and they are supporting the genocide. But they are Amazonians. Their hometowns and their fathers' ancestors' graves have been burnt, desecrated, and they are quiet, strangely quiet. And they look at you and I, who are standing to going back to Boya, they look at us strange. Some of them have even sold their fathers' graves to strangers, and they have disappeared to be living in boys' quarters in Yaoundé. Meanwhile, they have land where they can live very freely and live gorgeously. But because of that enslavement, and because of that blindness, and because of that initiation, they are living miserably, very, very miserable. Yes. So our history is telling you that if you are a true Amazonian, you need to get up and follow the right path. And what is the right path? Number one, the interim government has institutions. Number two, the interim government watches and looks what happens in Amazonia, in our hometown, in our land, Savannah Zone, Midland Zone, Atlantic Zone, and gives instructions. If you fail in those instructions, you have automatically assigned yourself to La République du Cameroon, knowingly or unknowingly. Remember, I told you the people perish for lack of knowledge. And we are bringing this knowledge so that you can awake and be ready to do that which only you can do for Amazonia. My dear people of Amazonia, listen and listen very well. Our history this month of May is very pregnant. Very, very pregnant. And the pregnancy is because we all know that 20th May is a month that we're supposed to be mourning, not celebrating, mourning, because it was in this day that many of our talented people were buried, were deprived, and La République understood it very well. By this 20th May, when they actually deceived the people of Southern Cameroons, Nanga transferred the company headquarters to Douala, and Niba and Sons Auto was transferred to Douala, and Kilo and Bros was transferred to Yaoundé, and so many other companies that were bringing income. La République understood that when the income economy of a land is desecrated and destroyed, those people will remain beggars, and whoever is in charge of the economy will control them. And when they did that stupidly, from this 20th May, our Amazonian people, they went still believing that these were honest people, and that these were people that were going to actually help us to develop. They swallowed everything, made them bankrupt. So they even died miserable deaths because there was no deliverer. But today, 2022, God has resurrected and said the year of Jubilee has come, where every slave who was enslaved, knowingly or unknowingly, should be set free. And I think that Ambazonians of goodwill, remember, Jesus Christ, talking to the multitude, told them that the way to God is very narrow and very few people find it. And God will go with the few people that find the narrow way. Ambazonians of goodwill, I want to encourage you, be amongst the few people who are finding the narrow way. And remember, God has never delivered with a crowd, with a multitude. When a multitude troops in, God says, no, you go and stay back. And he gave a category of people to stay back, not to go to war. And that is exactly what is happening in Ambazonia. There are some people who are doing whatever they are doing, and they are they are a little bit ashamed, and they are a little bit discouraged. And sometimes some people call me and say, "Oh, historian, what is going on? How are we? Where are we today? Everybody is seemingly of being a spectator to the coup plotters and to the other fora." I tell them, hold on. Let's go back to the history book. Let's go back to the beginnings. Yes. And we have handed over to him who knows the future more than any other person. And because we have handed over to him, that is why the Ambazonians of goodwill who believe in their God, they are not shaken by anything that La Republic does. They are not shaken by anything that the proxies of La Republic do. They are not shaken. No. Why are they not shaken? They are not shaken because God has spoken. And when God speaks, let the whole armies of the world, the US, Israel, France, Germany, Japan, China, all let them come together. I am telling you, they will not be able to defeat that which God, even if it's just one person, and Ambazonia has more than one person, God will stand and they will see a shock. That is why Ambazonia is free. The interim government is on podium, just doing what it's supposed to do. People who came in to impress one person or the other are now standing on the sideways, threatening one thing or the other. But the interim government is still going on. And God is doing the checkery. Because let me tell you, Ambazonians, there is a parliament. They call it the spiritual parliament that is in this Ambazonia. Those guys, those people, men and women, when they speak a word to God, and it happens, they do it in secret. No, they don't come on Facebook, they don't come on Zoom, they don't come on the public social media to declare and to shout on the top of their voices. No, they do it secretly, and God is rewarding Ambazonia openly, and the whole world is seeing. But when it happens, there are some people who are fighting against Ambazonia, and when the victories come, they are the first people to claim the victory. Listen, gentlemen, God knows the hearts of all men, and he knows who is doing what. So if you are that individual that has been called into this interim government, and you are in the department of, the spiritual parliament, I know there is the interim House of Representatives. Now, there is also the spiritual, that interim House of Representatives is a parliament, our parliament. But then we have the spiritual parliament that is fully represented. So the interim government has declared, and I want to reiterate to Ambazonians, the year of our enslavement is over. The year of Jubilee is here. And so 20th May is not going to be celebrated in our land, but you are going to stay back at home on the 19th and on the 20th only. Other days, you go about your normal duties. But on the 20th, on the 19th and the 20th, the federal government says no going out. And that is what we stand for. Any other person can say any other thing. There are those groups, there are those people who are fighting God, but God has always defeated them. There are some of them who are very loud-mouthed. They can talk. And when they talk, they convince only those who have itchy ears, who want to hear what they want to hear, and nothing is happening. Yeah, but the interim government has said 19th and 20th is the only 2 days that the people of Ambazonia have to stay back at home, boycott completely what La Republique is trying to do. Let the proxies of La Republique try to do whatever they are trying to do. Guess what? Nobody should rise up and say he's fighting them. They will go and go and go and go, when they have been captured by the devil, of course, thank God some of them have been captured by the devil and they are still breathing and they are still alive. But many have gone and they cannot hear what you are hearing. Now, many of them did not hear what you are hearing today. And I have a word to those who jumped out thinking that the Njangi House president and the coup plotters were meaning good. If you have discovered that there is nothing good, they are just a shadow of what they were saying, the door is open for you to come back to the interim government. Don't even bother how much insult you have insulted the interim government. There is a place for you to come back to the house. The interim government is a father to all Ambazonians, Midland Zone, Atlantic Zone, and the Savannah Zone. He is a father. The interim government is a father to all. So you can come back to the house and find your place. Let's move to Boya together. If you have discovered that the vehicle you have entered is mistakenly taken you to Douala or to Yaoundé, please jump out. If moving very fast and you have determined in your heart that you are not going to go to those genocidal lands, you can jump out of that vehicle. The angels of God will catch you and then you will be with us. So, my dear friends, today I want to end here. I'll be looking forward to hearing from my friend. He's doing some investigation now, and I will come to you as soon as I get the story. I will come to you on our history, and I will tell you that the current events that are making history in Ambazonia are here. Because we don't want to speculate, come out and say things that tomorrow will not be able to say authentically exactly what they are. Now, I told you in our history, when we are mentioning the name of somebody, we are mentioning with a background, with something to back it, very true, very concrete. We don't go by speculations. La Republique has a PhD in lies telling. And many of Ambazonians who have acquired the same permanent head damage in lies telling are not ashamed. They always come out to say things that at the end of the day, they cannot substantiate. And are they ashamed? No, they are not ashamed, because the devil who is in charge and involved has no shame, and they themselves, they have no shame. So for today, I want to call it quit for today and to remind the Ambazonian people, don't go away. In an hour's time, you will have Hour of Freedom coming your way with Reverend Dr. Victor, and maybe if another pastor is not there, I will be there, and we shall bring you the truth of God's word in our revelation. And for other information, a lot of people who believe and trust and hear from God have spoken. And those who just have the instinct that this is God ordained, they have spoken. And those that are prophets outside Ambazonia have spoken. So we have won. We have won, not only won spiritually, we have won physically, and we are marching into our land. Let me read these few comments here. The truth be told, the truth does not contradict itself. Never. Keep on saying it, Pastor, and remain firm in the truth. Ambazonia is free. Thank you very much, brother. He's called Brother Charles. Thank you very much for that comment. Another person is Agnes. He says, Ambazonia is free. Thank you very much, my sister. And he also says, God is in control. Yes. Facebook has a lot of problems today, and a number of people who are supposed to come in are not coming in. Another person writes, sir, the God you call should be your... Okay, this is a criminal from La République du Cameroon and an agent of darkness. He calls himself Ngoy Humphrey, Ngundu. Yeah, that name Ngundu resembles La République. So when a La République person comes and comment on us here, they are trying to write our history, because the history is very clear and they are trying to rewrite it. So this Ngoy Humphrey Ngundu, who is an enabler from La République du Cameroon, is writing and insulting God here. But Ngunde, let me tell you, I know God is God and He forgives your ignorance. But if I am the one, I will tell you that you have received a curse. But since I'm not the one who curses people, you are insulting God who knows, and you are uh, you are a Republican representative. I don't care to know where you are coming from in Ambazonia. You must have connections with La Republic, and you are an enabler. All right, people of God and people of Ambazonia, God bless you. I'm sure our history has pointed out a number of things to you. Let's be watchful. Let's be watching out, and let's continue in the fight. Boya is our Boya is our point, and we must get to Boya. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow, same time, 5 p.m. Amber time for our history. Meanwhile, don't go away. Stay put. Hour of freedom is coming your way very, very soon. Yeah. All right. Bye.